Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to analyze the phenomenon of El Nino, how it occurs, where it occurs, and how it affects the Indian monsoon. To understand the concept of El Nino, first we have to understand where the Pacific Ocean is situated. This is the map of Indian Ocean. This is the map, world map, and this is Indian Ocean, and this is the Pacific Ocean. In the atlas, if you look at the atlas, then here this is Asia. This is Northern Pacific Ocean. Here the equatorial line is going, and here this part is Southern Pacific Ocean, and here this is Northern Pacific Ocean and this Southern Pacific Ocean. But to understand the phenomenon of El Nino, we have to, the Pacific Ocean here is divided, but to understand the phenomenon of El Nino, we have to centralize the Pacific Ocean, and in atlas the centralized view of Pacific Ocean is not there. So I have prepared a rough map of world to elaborate the El Nino phenomenon. Here the Pacific Ocean is in center. Pacific Ocean is centralized. This is Northern America, this is Southern America, this is Asia, African continents. So here this is equator line going from Africa through Southern America, South America continent. As we know, different winds move in the on earth at different latitudes. These winds are known by different names, such as northeasterly trade winds, southeasterly trade winds, westerly trade winds, polar easterly trade winds. In Hindi we can हम लोगों ने पछुआ पवनें सुनी होंगी, तो वही पछुआ पवनें जो होती हैं उनको कहा जाता है वेस्टर्ली विंड्स. सो across the equatorial line at 0 degree latitude, northeasterly trade winds and the southeasterly trade wind converges at each other. Due to the convergence of northeasterly trade winds and southeasterly trade winds across the 0 degree latitude, equatorial currents are formed in Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. But to specifically focus on the Pacific Ocean, we have made a map of the Pacific Ocean with the Pacific Ocean. This is southeasterly trade wind and northeasterly trade winds. According to the Ekman's law, when winds moves across the equatorial line, then it gets tilted at 45 degree. So we can see that northeasterly winds coming from northwards to the southwards in a deflected direction due to the Coriolis force. It gets deflected in a straight line as a north equatorial current, and southeasterly trade winds moving from southern hemisphere towards northern equator gets deflected as a southeast equatorial current in a straight line due to Ekman's law. And the south equatorial currents move from Ecuador, and here Ecuador is situated, a country called Ecuador, and here Peru is situated, and here Chile is situated. This region is a deserted area. From Ecuador and Peru, south equatorial current move from eastern Pacific Ocean to the western Pacific Ocean. And when the south equatorial current moves towards the western Pacific Ocean, it gets it hits the Philippines coast of Philippines, and after hitting the coast of Philippines, here the Philippines is situated, And I have not marked the Philippines, but here the Philippines is situated. Here there are different archipelagos, islands. Due to the after hitting the Philippine coast, the southern equatorial currents get deflected towards southwards and move across the eastern Australia. And when it moves across the eastern Australia, then it is named as warm East Australian current. And from the southeastern part of the Australia, the warm East Australian current gets deflected eastwards and move toward the East Pacific Ocean as a cold drift. This is a cold drift moving from southeastern Australia to the southern part of the South America. And when the cold drift hits the Chile coast and moves northwards, then it is known as Peru or Humboldt current. This Peru current is a cold current because here Antarctica is situated, and the cold water of Antarctica mixes with the Peru current, and the Peru current becomes cold. And after the Peru current moves northwards, and it converges with South Equatorial current, thus completing the circuit. Here the South Equatorial current, warm East Australian current, and cold drift and Peru have completed the circuit of currents. So, and now we will look at a clearer map of the Pacific Ocean to understand the El Nino phenomenon. Now, this is two world maps with a Pacific Ocean in the center. This is Asia. This is Asian part, Asia, Southeast Asia, and this is North America. This is South America, and this is another part. In the normal year, when cold Peruvian current moves across the western South America, due to the coldness of the Peru current, a high pressure is created, because when a cold current moves, then the vaporization doesn't occur, and due to the dearth of vaporization, condensation of clouds doesn't occur and rainfall does not occur. So that is the reason why in the southern part of the South America continent, deserts are found. And here this is a desert region, because here cold current moves. Okay, and here near the southeastern Asia and the northern Australia, this is a very rainfall shed region, and here a moist atmosphere, very high moisture is found. A moist atmosphere is found. There is very high rainfall because it is located near equator, and here the insolation of solar radiation is very high. So that is the reason why here very high rainfall is found. And most importantly, in the Indian Ocean, due to high temperature, a low pressure is found here. And as we know, any liquid, air, gas moves from high pressure to the low pressure. Therefore, since in the Pacific Ocean around the Peruvian coast there is a high pressure, and in the Indian Ocean there is low pressure, the moist water, the moisture laden winds move from Southeast Asia and North Australia towards Indian Ocean. This causes monsoon in India. This is the monsoon winds that comes in India. And here this is deprived, and the Peru, Chile and South America is deprived of rainfall in this region. But occasionally, sometimes, Peru currents are replaced by warm El Nino currents. Here, this is another map when El Nino year occurs. This is an El Nino year. Okay. Along the Peruvian coast, occasionally warm El Nino currents flows. So a low pressure is created along the Peruvian coast, and reversal of the normal trade winds occurs. the trade winds that are moving are get reversed, because here a very low pressure is created. So the moisture laden winds of the West Pacific, that is near the Australia, northern Australia and the Southeast Asia, move towards the Peruvian coast and causes a very heavy rainfall in the South America. Instead of moving Indian coast, so the moisture laden air doesn't move towards Indian coast, it moves towards Peruvian coast. So India is deprived of monsoon in the El Nino year. Therefore, we can conclude that when a very heavy rainfall occurs in India, then drought occurs in the Peru. And when a very heavy rainfall occurs in Peru, then drought occurs in India, because the monsoon gets deflected towards El Nino and it does not reaches India, and no rainfall occurs in India. In spite there is low pressure, nevertheless of the fact that there is a low pressure here, a very high, a more low pressure is found here. So that is the reason why instead of deflecting the moisture, instead of deflecting towards the Indian Ocean, the moisture laden winds get deflected towards the Peruvian coast. And this is the El Nino phenomenon that occurs in the Indian Ocean. That occurs in the Pacific Ocean, that occurs in the Pacific Ocean. So thank you, and kindly subscribe to my channel.